We're rolling. Timer starts now. Mark. Hi, I'm Ford.
And I'm Sky. And these are not our real names. These are our superhero names, and with our powers combined, we formed the writing partnership L. Skyford. Welcome to Booklandia.
Today, we're going to review a book, most likely a romance. But before we get much further, did you know you can watch our faces do this episode by subscribing to us on Twitch at L. Skyford or YouTube at L.Skyford? You should really do it. We give good face.
And sometimes there's a dog bomb at Ford's house.
This is true. For our other socials, you can follow us on Twitter at SkyfordL, on Instagram at L.Skyford. And if you're interested in our book, blog, or even more book reviews, head over to our website, lskyford.com.
Lastly, this and every episode are chock full of oversharing and spoilers, and every episode is rated E for explicit. You have been warned.
Hi.
Ahoy! Hi!
My little heart immediately went away. My little graphic for my name.
Hello, goodbye! You don't
Exactly.
get to know my name. If you don't know it yet, go back to the previous episodes.
Exactly that. True that. How are you?
It feels like it's been forever since we've been here together.
Yes, I think it has not truly been forever, but we usually also see each other not on recording days, and we have not seen each other on not recording days. So that's how I feel like feels forever.
Yeah, so we have a million life catch-up things to do, but that is not why we are here.
No, that is not why we're here.
Recording our conversations. So we are here for, I'm going to just do the live. You can bring the graphic up, but I have the thing. I have the pages. We are doing One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston.
There she is. The book cover, not Casey McQuiston. For those of you listening, it is a pink and mauve cover with the Q train in the middle of it. There is a girl running to catch the train, and there's another one already on the train.
I would also say the cover includes Periwinkle.
There is Periwinkle. Agreed on Periwinkle. Before
Shades
we get
of lavender.
Ooh, there we go. Before we get to One Last Stop.
Okay.
How's the everything?
The everything is pretty good. My day job is trying to keep me busy, which is great because I'm a external contractor, so they're trying to fill my days. And when they don't, I fill my days with reading. Don't tell them, please. I'm hourly. It's fine. I clock out. Or I end up watching tutorials on programs and stuff. So I'm furthering my own work education. So it's going well. Things are going well. How about you? You've had some you've done some traveling, you've had some family.
I have, and I would check in about that, but instead I thought I'd do a PSA. This is an important PSA.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna sit up straighter. Okay. I'm gonna arrange my lumbar pillow. All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so here's my PSA. And this is news to no one in particular, but I just thought I'd reiterate it. So recently I have purchased some lingerie that I have purchased for myself to feel good, like in myself. And I go through these bouts of like, I just want to be comfortable, and bouts of like, I want to feel really sexy in my clothes. And I'm sort of in that headspace. And for everyone who's listening and watching, who's like, should I? It's like money I can spend on more reasonable things. Do it. It is it is worth it if that is the type of confidence booster that you are looking for. It is literally supporting you from inside your clothes in the sexiest way possible. And I am not in a relationship where what I wear matters. So it isn't at all for anyone but me. And it is a joy to exist in sexy lingerie.
I have to say, I've tried this once many years ago, and it wasn't for me. It didn't like I didn't need the peekaboo butt crack underwear or like I wore a corset under my t-shirt or whatever one day to work and I kept having to pull my t-shirt down to like cover my corset bits and so it was just more work than the sexy payoff didn't ever happen for me.
Fair
So
enough.
my PSA is do what you want to do.
Oh yeah, definitely do what you want to do. But if you're like
Yeah.
feeling in the slump and this is the kind of boost that works for you, yeah, it's a good boost.
Do you
I'm
want
a fan.
to shout out where you got your lingerie from?
It's not very exciting at all, actually, because I went to a department store. So
All right.
it's Calvin Klein.
Look,
I will shout out Calvin Klein. Which is not like it's not Fredericks of Hollywood or something. It's not like racy in any way. It's literally like I know that brand fits me and I don't have to try it on. And we're still pandemic-y, so I don't use the fitting rooms. So it is a comfort to just like pick up a thing and be like, this is my size. I can buy it and I know it fits, and it does. So there's
that makes sense because I've drooled over many a Calvin Klein model, so I can drool over you. This feels like perfect logic.
Excellent. Yeah, Calvin Klein is my jam. I'm a fan. I do have to say their pandering to the LGBTQ community with the rainbow thong was a little much. And I was like, cool, I am queer without the rainbow thong, so thanks.
There's enough fabric on a thong to put a rainbow?
It's on the band. It's the waistband that is rainbow.
Excellent.
The rest of it is not. I mean, maybe it's also rainbow, but it's too small to recognize.
Excellent. Sure. Of course.
So that is my PSA for those who like are maybe yes, maybe no. Should I do this? Go with yes. Go with yes.
Try it.
Try it.
Try
At
it.
least
You're not
once.
gonna know
And then you're
until you
like, this isn't for me, or like weird laces itching me in places I wasn't prepared for, and then you'll know that that's maybe not for you.
Or, ooh, the top of my butt crack's exposed in a not sexy way.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, some people are into plumber cracks.
Not me.
Not me either. Also feel like I've taken us off the rails, and I apologize. So I'm going to wheel us back in.
You know what? We should get back on the Q rails. The third rail, one would say.
Ooh, that is too on the nose. Too punny, even for me.
Dang it.
Could try
I'll
that.
find the perfect medium sometime.
Excellent.
You're never going to know unless you go for your pun. Always go for your puns. That's my PSA of the week.
There you go. Always
puns.
go for your puns. Okay, so let's get back to One Last Stop and Casey McQuston. So I wrote this 30-second blurb, and I'm not sure you've read it yet. So do you wanna try it live on air?
Just cold read.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm ready. I can do this.
Okay. In that case, this is what One Last Stop is about. In 3, 2, 1.
August moves to New York to attend Brooklyn University. On her way to the first day of class, gorgeous stranger saves her from coffee-based mortification. Oh, this is excellent. Thus begins the mystery and love affair that is Jane on the Q train. By degrees, August finds her friend family, place to call home and all the answers for Jane. She knows what they need to do, but can August let Jane go? So much time to spare.
There's so much I was trying not to say right away.
Spoiler? Try not to spoiler?
We are gonna spoil things, but I prefer not to do it in the blurb.
Sure.
But there's a lot of ends in my copy is what I noticed. There's a lot of like this and that. But yeah, so that's in a nutshell what happens. August finds Joy and finds Jane and then figures out what is happening with Jane because Jane was unaware that she was stuck on the Q train.
Stuck on the Q train.
Uh-huh. Okay, so this just released. Life is a weird soup of time. It released recently on June 1st. It
Yeah.
feels like it just got released, and that's definitely
Mhm.
a month and a half ago. So there is that. Um, let's jump right into it. So the book, you had a really good term for this book, and it was sci-fi romance, time travel
Oh,
romance. Like you had a
yes.
really good
Yeah.
like. So knowing that that's the genre, what was the most unbelievable thing to you about the book as a whole? Like, was there something,
Yeah.
knowing that the whole premise is unbelievable, was there one thing that you're like, what,
Mhm.
that, nope? What was the one
Yes.
thing?
Yes. So at the end, the way that they have this whole plan of how they're going to jump start Jane out of her time loop. She's stuck in this time loop, and she has been for what was it, 50 years? 50 years, something like that. Yeah, and 40,
I think
40.
it's 40.
Yeah. So their plan was a heist. So they're going to throw this party that gets them access to the electrical system for the queue, that so they can jumpstart the power for the queue. Um, so the unbelievable thing for me is that they were throwing this huge party and planning a heist at the same time, because someone who works in event management, it's hard to do just the party planning part, but also plan a heist. That's just it's a little much.
I
How about you?
To me, the most unbelievable part was the fact that they were never on a smelly train car that someone peed in.
Mm,
Like, having ridden
mm.
the queue quite a few times, the, no, just that is the most unbelievable part. I mean, they mention a rat that she makes friends with, but never someone like peeing in the corner, and that
Well,
is the
it's
reality.
it's probably because August's permanent pancake scent just surrounds them. It caresses them in a dome of baked goodery.
That sounds delicious, actually.
I I'm here for it. I really needed breakfast while reading this book. So, now, do you believe in time travel? Because it's one of my favorite tropes. Like, I really like Outlander. The Time Traveler's Wife was the first book I ever ugly cried over at the end. Like, I remember like gasping, sobbing at the end of that book. Is it for you?
Well, I feel like that's two questions. So, part
Okay.
one, real life time travel. I want to say yes. I mean, there's
Okay.
like photographs of people who look exactly like their like 100-year-old relatives, to the point where it's like, is it just the same person? There are
Mm.
people who make discoveries completely out of time and out of their comfort zone. So I want to say yeah. However, comma, I would really like some time travelers to like show up and maybe just nudge the course of history to some, I don't know, climate improvements, good things to have. I'm like, this last 2 years have been like, if there were time travelers, maybe they could have shown up for a good cause.
Mm.
So that's my 2 cents on real life time travelers. If in fact you are one and are listening to us, please, for the love of pancakes, show up with good stuff.
Well, so one thing my spouse always says is that the that time always bends towards liberalism. What if that's just the gentle nudging of a bunch of time travelers?
I would be very okay with that. I'm just saying nudge harder.
Okay,
Harder
all right.
nudging. And
The planet needs you.
yes, the planet needs you. Like way back when, but we still need you. And then to answer the other half of your question as to whether or not time traveling books and tropes are my jam, 110% yes. We've read a couple together. All of them have been good. I love a good butterfly effect, like a good paradox where you like,
Groundhog's Day.
yeah, or one of those where like you can change a little bit, but if you change too much, you're gonna make yourself disappear type of. I mean, like, yes to all of that. Yes, I very much enjoy this trope and will continue to read it very much so. Yes.
That just reminded me that one of my favorite movies is Sliding Doors, which is a butterfly effect, time travel-y. Excellent. I didn't realize, maybe this is my favorite trope.
There you go.
I'm
Yeah,
having
maybe.
a revelation.
Okay. As you do so, let's talk a little bit about the train, the Q train, and New York as a character in this, and really New York and San Francisco and New Orleans as actual character. Like, it really felt like the lifeblood of those cities, the energy of like an entire populace was really infused into it. It didn't feel like we were reading these characters who could belong anywhere. They had to be in Chinatown in San Francisco, or on right in New York City on the Q between Manhattan and Brooklyn. The Q itself, in fact, there are passages in the book where the Q itself is referred to as an entity, as a living thing. And I love that imagery because I have always felt that way. That like in particularly in New York, you can don't do this, by the way. Here's another PSA. Do not do what I'm about to tell you. But if you stop in the middle of the street and feel all of the people passing you by and the speed, like when I'm in New York, I walk faster than I've walked anywhere else because all of the other people are walking at that speed. And it's just this like mental moment where the speed of the city carries you and you really feel the arteries moving. And so I'm getting to a question, I promise. The question is, are there any cities or like any instances or like the Greyhound bus or something that has made you feel like that, where you like stood and witnessed? You don't have to stand, you could be moving and witnessing, right? Where you like felt as if you were part of something bigger, that you were participating in like in an artery, in a movement.
Interesting. I have been to New York like 3 times, and I did not feel that thing that people always talk about in New York until the last time, which was in 2020, right before the pandemic. We were doing a tour. We had a day off. I got to wander around Manhattan, and I think I was walking the Lower East Side. I was looking for the museum, which is the smallest museum I think in the world, and it's down this alley, and it's in like it's this wide, not it's a little wider, but it's one freight elevator, and it's a museum. And so I was walking looking for it, and I was like, oh, this is the spark of what people talk about when they live in New York. And I came back from tour, and one night I'm falling asleep, and I turned to my spouse and was like, what do you think about living in New York? And he goes, no, absolutely not. I go, but like just for a year, let's just do it for a year. And he's like, no, I'm not interested. So like it was enough for me to think about moving to New York. So there must be like just some latent sort of drug pumped into the air there, I assume. And then I'd say I have that feeling going home. When I go home to Austin, there's like it feels like a family member. It being the live music capital of the world, you're walking down the street and there's music coming out of every bar, every restaurant. There's a singer-songwriter, trying to make their fame. It's a slow town, but it's a town with heart and soul, I would say. And then it also smells like fried food. So it's just like the perfect city. How about you? You've experienced the Q, which I think I rode the Q. Do you take the Q from Queens into Manhattan?
No.
Oh, then I probably have not.
I know very confusingly, the Q is Brooklyn to Manhattan. And the A and the beginning of the
Yeah.
alphabet is in Queens. Um, so New York has absolutely has that. I mean, the Q. It's like I read that and I was like, yes to this. Yes, absolutely. This is the like the subway system in New York. The MTA is like its own living, breathing being. Moscow was like that too, because Moscow has a
Oh
really
yeah.
extensive subway map, and you can get almost anywhere on the subway in Moscow. And it is gorgeous and it's like architecturally famous. Um, yeah, I feel like a lot of big cities. I also love big cities. I love the
Mhm.
diversity of it
Same.
and the like closeness of other people and the variety of life. So big cities really excite me, and I tend to find those avenues of like life in them. Um,
Mhm.
I feel much less comfortable in cities that you have to drive everywhere and where you can't walk and you can't be in the presence of other people. And as you can imagine, this last year and a half where I could not be in the presence of other people has made me a very lonely person.
Sure. I really enjoy finding the neighborhoods within the big cities. The individual personality of a neighborhood. I took the bus somewhere in Montreal in the dead of winter just to go to this bakery, and I was just sitting in the window of this bakery watching, the couple of people walk down the street, but like walking from the bus stop to the bakery and seeing the schools and the murals and and it was just a neighborhood. And that gave me the essence of the big city more than walking up and down the river in Montreal would ever have done.
Yeah, I agree. I do like to find the bits of the city where the I'm putting it in quotes, but where the locals hang out, like the parts of the city
Mm-hmm.
that aren't showy for tourists necessarily.
Yeah.
And Montreal for me, I wandered into a jazz fest when I was in Montreal, and I had a great time, and I completely got immersed in this lovely thing that I was not planning on. So absolutely agree that yeah, I will try to like scope out at least a thing that is not
Mhm.
a must visit on the
Yeah.
tourist guide of a city. Definitely.
So
But
what you're
yeah,
saying is that you want to see the lingerie of a city. You want
I
to get up under
do.
its skirts.
Oh, yes. I definitely do.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's pivot a little bit and let's talk about all the side characters in this book because she ticked every box. We had trans characters, gay characters, drag artists, like physical, visual artists, the shy person, the mean person, the aloof person. Like, was this the best found family you've ever read, or are you lying?
This was a very excellent found family. Absolutely agree. I love that the trans person wasn't a person with a lot of trauma. I loved
Mm-hmm.
that the like the person who seemed to should have like the person who should have had the easiest time, if you will, was a person who was like, I have a lot of emotional baggage that I'm processing. Um, yeah, I think it was lovely. There was so much built into it. You really got to love the people and the city in the way that August got to love it. And that, like, yeah, it was a gem. It was a love. I want to know all of those people in real life. Please and thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed her roommate, the visual artist, who didn't know what her piece was about until she did. Like she was just following a gut feeling all this time for months, creating this structure, this sculpture, until she realized what it was about. Like that that I think about that. There are moments of this book where I think about the specific moment, and that's one of them. The metaphor.
It's yeah, it's very good. These people were very real, really fabulous. I wanted to hang out with all of them, which is a
Mhm.
mark of a really great character, particularly a side character, because you sort of don't spend as much
Right.
time with them.
And I
All right.
keep thinking about, oh, just one more. Like
No.
I
Oh,
keep thinking about how she just found this apartment like on a flyer on a trash can. Is that how that happened? I can't remember at this part, but I just keep thinking about, like, was that a moment of fate? Like,
I, I think yes, because without her roommate being a psychic, she might not have been open to unreal things, right? Things beyond reality. So I think yes, and also the fact that she had a bad experience with the psychic and she needed a good experience with the psychic. So I think that because right, ultimately everything is fated in this book. Otherwise, how is Jane so interconnected to her uncle? And right, so all the things connect. So I did get a sense of like all of this is fated. All of this
yeah,
was meant to happen the way that it did.
yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
This is very, very, very important in massive quotation marks. Did this book make you feel old?
um, I I think it yes. Only in well, I keep thinking about all of the August cosplay that is on Instagram in related to this book, where it's these gorgeous young 20 somethings wearing their black rompers with their white baby doll t-shirts underneath. And I go, I wore that in the 90s. Please stop.
Which
I
was
can't
30
handle.
years ago. It's the part where she figured out that
Yeah.
Jane should be 70. Like when she said,
Yeah.
you should be 70, my mind went, oh, oh no.
Oh gosh.
Also, the fact that,
Yeah.
so at some point they discovered that the Q used to be called the QB. So when I
Uh-huh.
lived in New York, I rode the QB, not the Q. I mean, I've since been to New York and have ridden the Q, but I was like, I remember it being the QB. Oh.
Oh no.
Like it's a reference to something very old. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I am very old
Mhm.
with the QB.
Yeah, I didn't feel super ancient in the fact that, like, you know, we do social media things. We go to drag shows. Like, we're not fully out of touch. But man, those young people, they're able to drink all night and then play rolly bangers. I'm too old for rolly bangers. That's for definite sure.
I know that too. I mean, there's a, this is August's this is August's first relationship or first serious relationship. And that
Mhm.
felt very young and very like just trying to figure it out. And I do feel like there are times when reading first relationships and reading graduating from college where I go, wow, that was a while back and this brings me back. And then I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, right, right. Like for some people, it is right this second. So it was really when she said that Jane should be 70 and that the Q used to, a long time ago, the Q used to be called the QB when I went, oh, not that I am
We gonna
70,
yeah.
but, oh, yikes.
Yeah. Well, pancakes are forever. So pancakes will never make you feel old. They'll just make you feel fat.
Exactly.
Um
Deliciously fat. This is not fat
yes.
shaming on Pancake's account, by the way.
Oh no. Yeah. No, like self-reflectively fat, but pleased, pleasured. I don't know, pancakes make me feel pleasured. In a
We're
never
getting
mind.
into
We're going
some
to
really interesting bits today.
strike that from the record. Okay, so one of the things I kept wondering, and this I just need a historian to act at me. Come at me, historians. Uh, I didn't know that women in the 70s had like full sleeves of tattoos, like a lot of tattoos. When did
She,
tattoos become a thing for people?
okay,
Did you think
I
Jane had too many tattoos for
so
being from the
I
70s?
genuinely don't know the answer to that for a variety of reasons, and I'm gonna say some stuff, and it's all gonna be wrong. So I've prefaced it. So
Great.
in the U.S., tattoos became a big thing for men during the Second World War. There was less of
Oh.
it during the First World War, but during the Second World War, there's a lot of tattoos, a lot of people putting their like army or ranger or
Mhm.
Air Force. Actually, I don't think there were Rangers yet. You know what? Not gonna say that either. Don't know.
Navy SEALs and
Navy SEAls.
Black
No,
Ops.
there's like, yeah, Navy SEAls were definitely ones that were getting tattoos, particularly on their forearms. And she does have an anchor, which is something that I've definitely seen on older people. So military tattoos or tattoos that have to do with military service, definitely a thing. For men, probably less so for women, though I honestly don't know. Now, here is where I have to swerve into territory that I really don't belong in. So, just get some salt for my foot. But tattooing arts come from China and Japan and the rest of the eastern section of Eurasia, right? So,
well, there's also the tribal tattoos of Caribbean folks and Tongan Samoans and things like that.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But my point for Jane in particular, because she comes from Chinatown, because she comes from San Francisco, I wonder if tattooing isn't more acceptable, or at least a more likely part of her experience in the 70s. And then finally, lesbians in the 70s who were really trying to not be feminine
mainstream?
In a way, mainstream in a way that femininity was being described at the time. Man, I feel like there's like minefield of things that I just said that are all super offensive. So there we go. But yeah, like, I mean, I don't know too many 70s lesbians to talk to like on a regular. I mean, I know some, but not to call up and ask about this. But the fact that the sides of her body had these extensive tattoos did seem like something that was more modern. But I don't know, maybe like they're hidden wonderful body pieces that we have not seen.
Right, because I think about what I know from the zeitgeist. So like the 1940s and 50s painted women of the circus. So like that's full body tattooing, but that was still very much like they were very much outside of society. And I think the purpose of the tattoo is to further set Jane outside of her time, especially. So you had it right in that she was a lesbian in the 70s, traveling by herself, just experiencing life on her own. So she was already living on the edge of society already. So for that time, it would make a lot of sense. It was one of those things that I just was continuously, I need the history of tattoos, I think is the book I need to read to get some information.
Cause I know more about it in like the 90s and the aughts and then the last 20 years, but I genuinely don't know. I mean, and like I said, I've seen a lot of military tattoos from the Second World War on like grandparents, male, particularly men, who have them on their forearms as like their unit number or where they served or which battalion, things like that. That was really common.
Which is interesting considering that was a period, well, and I guess at the time you don't really know, where tattooing was done for nefarious reasons as well. So it's a weird dichotomy.
It is, and then like you get into the whole thing for the Jewish people, which neither one of the characters are Jewish, so that doesn't really affect them. But that tattooing has completely different connotations, and so
yes, so, both historically and traditionally.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know, but I saw your question. I was like, I do want to look this up now in a more specific way, because I thought I knew, but I genuinely don't.
No, historians, come at us. We want it.
We want to know. You. All right, we will be right back.
Bye. Okay, we're going to take an intermission right here. When we come back, we're going to break down our favorite moment from the book.
And discuss our ratings and if this book made us want to get naked.
Please enjoy this message from one of our friends in the podcasting world.
It is very helpful if I push the right buttons. Hello. And we're back. We are talking about Casey McQuiston's One Last Stop. And we are going to talk about our favorite moments and whether or not this book was as hot as we thought it would be. Okay, so favorite moment.
My favorite moment, even though it was the least probable for me, was the time heist, as I call it, where they had to break Jane out of her time loop while throwing an outrageous drag party, darling. They just slayed all day.
Very good. It was a bunch
How
of fun. My favorite moment was the fact that Jane broke down the train on as it was crossing the Manhattan Bridge. Having ridden that train quite a few times and having been broken down on that train quite a few times, I have never been broken down anywhere nice. So I've never been broken down anywhere nice. I've not even been broken down anywhere where I have cell service. So there's not even something to do that isn't like read a physical book or make out. Which might have happened once or twice. But I would have preferred doing so with the view, with the lights of Manhattan behind me. So I loved that, and we at the time don't understand that Jane controls where the train breaks down, but the fact that her like inner self broke the train down so that their first sexual encounter could be with a really nice view was like fantastic. It was lovely, and I could absolutely imagine it. The crossing the bridge. I mean, also the scene. It was good. It was good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that was very clever on both the writer and the character's part.
Yes, well done both. Excellent choice.
Well done, you. All right, what was your hot take of this book?
So, the longer I sit with it, the longer I hang out with this story, the more I fall in love with it, which is kind of interesting because at first I read it and I was comparing it a lot to Red, White, and Royal Blue because that book is so wonderful. And this is the same author. This is the sophomore novel. It's sort of like par for the course to compare the two, for me anyways. And they're not the same, right? They're not the same book at all. They don't even belong in the same genre technically. But the longer I sit in the like, this was really close to my heart. I mean, outside of like having an out of time experience, I have ridden that train. I have been in New York. I've fallen in love both with New York and with someone in New York. So like connecting to this was very personal. And so it's just, I want to hug it a lot and smile about it a bunch.
Does this need to come live at your house? Does this physical book need to just live at your house so you can huggle it or not?
Huggle it. I mean, it can be metaphorical, but the longer I hang out with it, the more I like it. I think it has some excellent moments for me. So hot take, fab, totally fab, completely different from the other one. Don't read the one expecting the other. Just read each one on their own, and I think you're gonna have an amazing time.
Yeah, and I think that's my hot take is that I was expecting to just scream from the rooftops, this is Red, White, and Royal Blue 2.0, and it's not that. And so it's amazing in its own right, but I didn't give it its own pedestal to begin with. So Red, White, and Royal Blue still my number one favorite. It did not peak that for me, but I do, like I said, I still find myself thinking about these like one sentence moments from the book, like flippant things. I just find myself coming back to moments about it. So another book with incredible staying power. So yes, hot take is yas, queen.
There we go. Yes, it's wonderful and perfect. Okay, did this book make you want to get naked?
Maybe. I am very hot for time travel, If I didn't make that perfectly clear earlier, time travel.
And you're very hot for pancakes.
And I'm hot for pancakes. So like roll a pancake up in a tortilla circle and send me through time. I'm ready. Put me in coach. I'd be an excellent time traveler. This is not true. But I'd like to think I would be. I think about time travel a lot, you guys. Okay, but I'm not into the semi-public sex they have on the train. This is not for me.
Okay.
A subway is perhaps the least sexy place I could imagine.
I mean, they did
Plastic
make
chairs.
I know, so uncomfortable. There are benches. They did make it appear as though this sex was very not public insofar as no one else was entering the train until the one time when there was like everyone on the train.
Right, when they were just doing it in the corner, and I'm just like, it's still public. It's still public.
Doing it sounds like they were like writhing on the floor, which they were not.
Right. There was just some heavy fingering.
Yeah, just regular amounts of fingering. I don't know that it was heavy.
Heavy.
Just fingering. But yeah, in case you guys are confused about what lesbian sex is like, it is not always. I'm sorry. I should have waited until you no longer had liquid in your mouth.
No. Please continue about lesbian sex.
It is not always writhing on the floor, so when they are in fact engaged in a sexual activity on a train full of people, it is discreet. I mean, it's still illicit, but it is discreet.
Sure. Illicit, that is an excellent word. That's an excellent word. Look, those romper halter top baby doll t-shirts come in handy for illicit fingering. Illicit heavy fingering on the
I think she's wearing a long skirt during that scene, but yes, still, yes.
I can't keep track of costumes.
That's kind of my job. Yeah. So as long as your time traveling pancake eaters don't take you on the subway, you're in.
Look, I'm just not gonna engage in any illicit, semi-private, semi-public sex on the train. Time travelers.
They've been warned. I feel like you have definitely warned them now.
Excellent. It's in the record. Okay, excellent. Man, what a delightful book.
Yes. So in case it's not self-evident, yes, this book made me want to get naked. That final scene is so well done. And I mean that in terms of how it's written, because it made me laugh out loud. And I was like, oh, that's hilarious. But like in the good.
Are you talking about the hookup in her apartment?
Yes. And not like the shower scene, but even further than that, there like at the very, very end when Jane sits on her face, which, we've already had this conversation. I enjoy a good sit on the face scene, well written. And it is very well written, and it is very funny, like in a good, they are really enjoying their sexual chemistry, and it's good off the train and on the train, right? Like they've been good on the train all this time, and now they're good off the train. And I love that Jane is like, are you ready for this? And then she's like, never mind, you are ready for this. What is happening? And I was like, I love that she's finally taken surprise, that like she's always been the one that's been super confident and has more sexual experiences than August. And then August just blows her mind, as should be the case.
Yes.
Also, I'm always a fan of like a book that has women getting good head, because apparently that's super rare.
Yeah, we've read some sapphic stuff that has definitely let us down.
Agreed. So it was just like, it was lovely, and I felt safe with them and for them, and it was all around a great scene. So yes, I am also pro semi-public endeavors. So I was like, this is amazing. Tell me more.
That heavy fingering, I get it.
Yes. That might be the case. Bring a skirt, man. Bring a skirt.
Bring a skirt. Yeah, I really enjoyed the balance of action to romance. Like, this book is a little bit chunky for a romance. She's a little thick, but none of it is wasted. It's all hella interesting.
Yes, there weren't any parts of it that I was like, I'm just gonna skip through this like secondary scene because I want to get back to the primary action, because all of it felt really tied together. I do think that it ties into a very neat bow, and like that's where suspension of disbelief actually got broken for me a little bit, because the bow was too neat. The boyfriend of the uncle had Jane's record. Like, I was like, oh, that's too much of a good thing. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like, so yeah. I love, sorry, I just knocked my table with my knee, so sorry about the bump. But yeah, so I love a little bit of like this stuff is just unresolved, and that's okay, because life is unresolved, and everything just like did one of these and like a pretty bow. I don't know. I know that people are really sad. Like, people love a good wrap up, a good pretty bow. And I sort of wanted a few things that weren't quite settled, and everything got settled.
It's like, you can tell me where it's going, but I don't need to see the end sometimes.
Yeah. And I feel like with really great books, I sort of don't want to see all of it end, because then in my head, there's like a continuation, right? Like all the stuff continues onward. But if you've wrapped it all up, you've said goodbye to it, and now I have to, and I'm heartbroken about it. So really, sure. I'm mad that this book wrapped it up, because I'm heartbroken about it.
Yeah, the book I just finished this morning has a little like you can see the trajectory, but you don't have, it's not a close, put it on the shelf, forget about it forever. So I agree. I have to agree with you.
So, Casey McQuiston, please write more, because we are obviously hooked.
We are here for it.
Well done, you. And thank you for unburying your gaze, as she says in the acknowledgement of the book. That's what she did, which is also wonderful and lovely. Yeah. So
thank you for inventing a breakfast plate that I have to try, the Sue Special.
The Sue Special sounded delicious.
I tend not to like hot sauce on a lot of things, but I need it. Must have. It's a must have.
All right. Well, in that case, we will see you next time on a mini-sode. And then we're coming back for an episode after that. And we actually don't yet know what book we're going to review. So stand by for surprise reveal for episode 10.
I feel like most episodes are surprise reveals, because we rarely talk about what we're doing next.
That's true.
Please continue for every surprise.
Continue for surprise reveals. Excellent. Pick up this book immediately and enjoy the ride.
So are you, dear audience human, gonna pick up this book now that you've heard our review? Let us know in the comments. Have a suggestion for another review? Slide on into our DMs.
If you like this adventure in books or updates on our upcoming projects, please follow, like, save, subscribe, rate, review us on Instagram at l.skyford, on Twitch at lskyford, and on Twitter at SkyfordL. Phew. I'm Sky.
And I'm Ford. That's it for this episode. We will see you next time on Booklandia, where every book is a whole world to explore. And we're out.